Oopsies. Georgia
Okay,
got me
we're
to
on
binge
there.
watch. Georgia got me to binge watch the pitch meetings from Screen Rant. So now I'm going to be doing all of their catchphrases.
Very
I apologize
good.
in advance.
Oh no, that's
Oopsies.
funny. It
I think
is.
Micah is muted.
Shush.
Oh, am I muted?
No, you're not muted.
Oh yeah.
You said
I can't hear him.
shush.
I can hear Lori.
You guys can't hear him?
No.
I can hear him just fine.
Like we didn't choose to mute Micah. But
Yeah, I think you muted me.
we muted Micah. Can we do
Yeah.
that? Is that
No,
possible?
you cannot mute an individual.
I think you did.
That's the weirdest
You
thing.
muted me.
Yeah, no, we're not. We're just gonna have the show without you, Micah.
You definitely.
Can you hear? Can you hear him, Lori?
I can hear him just
ignoring
fine.
me.
Are you joking? Do you?
No.
Are you joking?
No, cannot hear Micah. Can hear Lori fine.
Calling
Cannot
my
hear Micah
lawyer.
at all.
I can't hear him. I don't even know if he's just pretending and making his.
I am
moves.
saying
Like one of
her.
those,
Where I
like
can
one of
hear
those
him.
fight
Should we
movies, a
rejoin-
kung fu
Let's
movie.
rejoin the hangout.
He's doing
Come
the.
on.
Lord God.
That was so great. I'm like, are you guys being funny? And
Right.
you're like, I think they're pretending.
I think it's us that's being funny. No, we're not being funny. Live listeners, I hope that there are some of you who got to enjoy that. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yay.
You can. I love
that's
Lori asking.
No, I think it's when he dropped off and came back. I
Yeah.
decided we didn't need him anymore.
Google Hangouts dropped me off to do a verification. I don't
great.
understand why it does that. You can't do that in the middle of a call for someone.
No, that's the worst.
Ugh.
Terrible.
Okay.
You're already in.
Oh, yeah,
It really is the
I'm already
worst
in.
communications platform.
They don't know that we voted him out when
Yeah.
he, so okay.
Yeah, I
You
got
won't say
voted off
anything.
the island. It is Friday, May 31st, 2019. I'm Micah Sargent, and right now we are going to talk about quite a bit because right around the corner is the developer conference from Apple. That's worldwide. That's right. It's WWDC plus a whole lot more because this is the iMore Show. Back this week with us, all the way from Canada, with a very nice sweater on. It's Georgia Dow. How you doing, Georgia?
It's my fuzzy sweater. It's when it's
It looks
cold.
so warm.
Because it's really, really warm. I wear it all the way, but it's like cold here. It's supposed to be warm. It's not.
What's the weather today?
14 degrees.
14 degrees Celsius?
Yeah.
I wonder what that is in Fahrenheit. Somebody let me know.
Multiplied by 2, add 3. What is that? I
F.
don't know.
It's 57 point. Okay, so yeah, about 60 degrees Fahrenheit.
Perfect summer weather.
Yeah, perfect summer weather. Exactly. Also joining us from the cold, frigid climates of Canada is Renee Ritchie. How you doing, Renee?
I am here to watch the end of May and to help you all launch the beginning of spring.
June is on its way, hey, hey. And Lori Gill is here to say.
It's
Lori
yeah, or something.
She's here to say yeah or something. Oh boy. Well, folks,
I was enjoying your song so much that I wasn't paying attention to the fact that I was supposed to start talking.
Yeah, it's just a little improv, a little here, a little there, But you can tell today's show seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. And so let's kick things off. What do we have on the menu? What you got there? Hot pink.
Isn't that color so pretty?
So if
Vivid.
you're
Like
listening,
hologram
it is a fuchsia phone. Is that a case
No,
or
it's
did
a-
you get
it's-
it ionized?
No, it's an
What is
iPod
it?
Touch.
It's the new iPod Touch.
The new iPod Touch.
Ooh.
In official color. I didn't have it painted that color. This is the color it comes in if you choose the pink.
Really?
I was talking about how the hardest part about selecting the iPod Touch was the color because there's so many that look so good.
Yeah.
That's a
I also
beautiful color.
wanted the product red because it's so pretty, and that blue is such a nice color blue to go on a gadget. But I went with pink. It's sort of in honor of my mom. She loves pink. It's her favorite color. And because I've never had a bright pink device like this. So I thought, this one is the weirdest. I'll go
Now,
for
do
it.
they have lime green for Micah?
They do not have any green for Micah yet. It's
Why
still
do they hate Micah? Why does
Why do
Johnny
you
Ives'
hate
color
me?
team hate Micah?
Why do you
it's
hate?
the same. I know. It's the same colors as it was before. So let me
Wait,
just
the colors
show
didn't
you.
change? The
Colors
design didn't change? The camera
Design
didn't change? The home
The
button didn't
box.
change.
The
This
box
sounds like
that it
Renee's
comes
review.
in didn't change. Look how does this bring back
What?
memories for
It's
you?
still the plastic box.
Yeah,
like-
that's the box from
I
my 20.
like-
That's the box from my 2012.
I like
Touch.
that. I like the box though.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny. I thought for sure they'd at least change the box and put it in like the more modern iPhone style box, but no, they kept that
Nope.
plastic box.
Hard nope.
So what has changed?
Oh, Micah,
The
stop
only
rubbing it
thing
in.
the only thing that's changed is that it's got a faster processor and you can get it in a larger storage capacity. So it has the A10 chip now. Not the latest and greatest, but I believe, Renee, you can help me remember this, but is it the 6S
The 7.
chip? The 7. It has the same
Yeah.
same chip as the iPhone 7. So it's upgraded to a couple years back. And then now you can get it into up to 256 gigs. So
Which is a
the
lot of
idea,
gigs.
it's a lot of gigs for just a thing that doesn't do anything like, I mean, you can make phone calls on
A
it
thing
if
that
you
doesn't
use
do
Wi-Fi,
anything.
but
Does it
But,
shoot 4K video? I forgot. I don't think it does. Does it?
It does not do
It's
4K
just
video.
Yeah, so that's a ton of storage.
yeah, exactly. But when I was, all excited about how I got the new iPod Touch, and everybody's question was, "Why did you get that? What's the point?"
Well, I was gonna say that. Lord, can you
Literally her
Can
job,
you-
folks.
well can
Literally.
you tell people can you tell people that don't know what would you get the iPod Touch for?
I've already gone through a long list of things that the iPod Touch could be great for, but let me start by saying I think that Apple updated the iPod Touch for 2019 for one specific reason, and that's services. They are obviously trying to make sure that everybody has the ability to access its services that are going to be coming out this year. That includes News Plus, Apple Arcade, and TV Plus. Thank you. So if you don't own any Apple products at all, for as low as $200, you can jump into the Apple ecosystem, and you don't have to you don't have to change to a different type of phone. You don't have to get a big old tablet. You get this tiny little device, and you can play games on it. You can watch your TV shows on it. You can do all the things that you can do on an iPhone or an iPad, but you don't have to pay the price for it. You can get it at a smaller capacity. You can get it as low as 32 gigs, which is still pretty darn good if all you're doing is downloading music and games. So to me, this is sort of a entry-level device in the most real way that you could possibly get an entry-level device. At $200, you can join the Apple ecosystem. I think it's a smart move on Apple's part for all those people out there who are sort of resentful at Apple for not making it easier to kind of like get into all of the stuff. This is Apple's way of saying, here's something that will get you in, and you don't have to spend as much money on it, and you don't have to sign contracts. You don't have to switch phones. All you got to do is get this tiny little $200 device, and you're in. Use your Apple ID, and you can start downloading games and stuff. So it's a really great idea. So with that, there's all kinds of great things that I have an iPod Touch from, I think it was 2012. It's the 4th generation one. So it's years. It's not even the most recent one. It's from years back. And I just stopped using it. It worked fine, but I stopped using it. And this kind of like rekindled my fire for iPod Touch in the weirdest way. So I don't see myself gaming on it a lot, although this is kind of, you can tell that Apple wants people to game on this because they updated the processor chip. It's meant to be faster and more capable of handling high graphics games and stuff like that. But for me, things like I have backyard barbecues all the time. I hook up my phone to my outdoor speakers, and then I worry about how much battery life I'm using up.
Yeah.
Well, this thing can run all night long, and I don't have to worry about my battery. I can text on my phone while music is playing. I can do I can look up things when people say, who starred in that movie? It's not going to affect anything if I'm like messing with my phone while the music is playing. It'll just sit there. I can also throw it in the car, hook it up to my car speaker, and not ever have to take it out of the car. So it becomes this sort of like dedicated music device that I don't have to worry about what my phone's doing with it there. I would never leave my phone in my car, but I would leave an iPod Touch in the car because, just hide it somewhere. I'm not worried about it. If it gets stolen, it wasn't that expensive to replace it. Joggers, people who want to exercise and don't want to take their phone with them, but also don't have an Apple Watch, which is more expensive. You can use it for listening to things while you're out doing your exercises. Get away. You don't need to be connected to cellular. Obviously, it's not as convenient as an Apple Watch, but it's also not as expensive as an Apple Watch. So if you just want to listen to music while you're on your jog, you've got that. You could throw it in your pocket or put it on an armband or something like that. Other things, kids, obviously, this is a great device for young kids that want to play video games and you don't want them messing with your phone or your tablet because that's going to be too expensive if it breaks. You can lock down this iPod Touch to be 100% kid friendly, and it's not something that you're going to play with. So they get to play all the games and listen to music, but you get to be really restrictive on what's used, and it's not going to mess with your use of the device. What else is there?
Is it waterproof? And if so, to like, what can you do? Because like, that's the other thing is if I'm going to have my kids or bring it to the beach or like, if I drop it into the toilet, do I have to go back through and grab the, okay.
Yeah, I think the IP rating on it is IPX6. Renee, you might even know a little bit more. It's not waterproof. I would call it like splash resistant.
It's not officially anything, yeah. So I would be careful. The thing that I saw that was really that I hadn't even thought about, and Lori and I got tweeted right away that it's huge in the accessibility community as well because they just want a small, light, inexpensive device to use as a screen reader so that they can be connected to the online world, and some of them just they don't necessarily need it for their phone, but if they have school programs, and also like people who are teaching coding in schools, they want a bunch of devices that are super cheap and that they can teach, and kids can test out their apps and development on. So education and accessibility are two huge markets I hadn't really thought about.
Yeah.
Because I thought about education in the sense of folks having an inexpensive way. I think we talked about like librarians.
I just think about iPads now. I never thought about like in terms of coding classes.
Yeah, and I think these are good for libraries with like audiobook rentals and things like that, where you could also rent the iPod, or not rent, but check out the iPod with the audiobook on it and be able to listen to it is kind of nice. But yeah, certainly not as far as thinking about coding. This is a great device for that.
Yeah, so it's not for everyone because most of us don't need an iPod Touch when we already have an iPhone. But even people who already have an iPhone, it is a benefit in some ways because it's a dedicated device. You can turn it into whatever dedicated device you want it to be, and it didn't cost you a bunch of money to do it. So turning it into, for me, it's going to be a dedicated music player and an audiobook player, actually, for that matter, podcasting, all that stuff, any kind of like entertainment listening. I can put it somewhere, leave it somewhere. It's always going to be used for that one thing. And I don't have to worry about where I left it or whether or not the battery's charging. My phone is the thing.
Someone said it was their Apple TV and HomeKit remote always on their sofa sideboard.
There you go. If you hate the Siri remote.
That's a good thing because I do hate the remote.
There you go.
I would do it just despite the remote, really.
It's like you have the remote sitting across. You're like, look at this. Look at this. I'm using this instead of you.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was interesting, and I've known it, but I kind of forgot it, was how almost identical it is to the iPhone SE. So it is the 4-inch form factor. Screen-wise, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference looking from the front down. Screen-wise, they're exactly the same. The iPod Touch is significantly thinner than the iPhone SE.
That's the only thing, though, is that I worry about people stealing it because
it's
that's
so
the only thing.
Because it's so pink.
That one it does look really hot, but
none more pink.
Yeah, but because it looks like an iPhone. Like I had no clue.
I mean,
I was like, what case is that? Because I love it, and I can see people just
because they're
pinching
gonna look at it and they're gonna be like, oh, ain't no brokey's gonna take that no Touch ID iPod.
Or no full screen.
Yeah, can't find a Flex without Face ID.
You look at the back and it says iPod on it.
Yeah.
That's true. That is. So I don't know if you're stealing something, you're probably not reading
criminals have standards. I'm not going to sit there like an animal having to punch in a passcode.
I don't know if criminals have those standards.
Speaking of passcode, you would not believe how irritating it is to go back to having to type in a passcode. No Touch ID on this bad boy. I literally have to manually type in my my password every time I open it, and I've just like,
Can you Hey
"Whoa."
Siri your way out of that?
Georgia, you just bought
No.
$100.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry, everyone.
No, I thought, you know,
$100
modern-
houses.
I guess if they've got their home pods around, then yeah. But otherwise, hey, you know who is, it's special to your voice.
Yeah,
Hopefully I don't sound like you.
yeah, exactly. My mom can trigger my
iPod
iPhone
Touch.
assistant.
My voice is my passcode. Authenticate
I
me.
I had my partner say his hey, you know who a couple times, and I listened to it, and then I was able to replicate it enough to where his Siri triggered, and I felt so powerful. And then he tried to do it to me, and he couldn't do it. But I was like, "Yes, I've got your
Your
voice down."
mellifluous voice
Wow.
is very hard to imitate.
Oh, how sweet!
My mom and I's voices are so similar that if we're in the same room and we're calling out to it, it triggers both of our phones every
Do you have
time.
siblings, Lori?
I have a brother.
Could you call him pretending to be your mom like he's in a lot of trouble and just watch him?
I could probably get away with it. Yeah, I think we could
Young
fake
man, what were you thinking?
that.
Oh, that's lovely. So anything else we should know about this new iPod Touch? Because I think that, Georgia asked the big question that everybody has, which is, who is this for?
What's the point?
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole deal with it.
Well, I'll do you one better. Why is iPod?
Why is iPod? So the Bluetooth connection, I've got my Powerbeats Pro connected to it, and it's perfect. It works really great, really smooth, really no lag time. I played Fortnite on it, and I'll give you guys an advance on what I'm going to write in my review later today. It plays just fine on an iPod Touch. There's no lag. It plays just fine, but it sure does look bad. I played it on an iPhone XS and the iPod Touch, so I can compare. Graphics are way lower
You're
on
getting
iPod
60
Touch.
frames per second on the iPhone XS now, which is amazing for.
It makes a
Fortnite.
difference visually.
Yeah.
I actually had to put on my glasses to play it on the iPod Touch because
Oh,
it was just a little bit too low quality.
It's messing with my kills. She was going to take out Tfue like that, and then the iPod Touch slowed her down.
Tisk. No, it's certainly a gorgeous device. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's so pretty. I love shining that pretty pink at everybody.
Remember when that came out? There was a bunch of us going, "This is what the iPhone is going to look like in a couple of years. It'll be this thin, this small. It's going to be beautiful." And then Apple's like, 4.7, 5.5, 6.1, boom, boom, boom. Oh, sorry.
And colors, no thanks. You get none.
rose gold. Rose gold is nice.
Yeah, and
Mike
there's
is
no
getting
rose.
the exact opposite green he wants this year. So
There's no rose gold iPod Touch.
you can.
No, and it's my color. I just got my rose gold watch band.
Oh,
Ooh,
gorge.
that's
See?
pretty.
That pretty
Very
one?
nice. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
What's the brand on that?
I think it's called Wearalizer. It was on Amazon, and you can refit it really easily, but just all of these open. So you just pop them open, change the size, put them back together, and they're like little tiny.
I like that.
Yeah, they're really nice, really comfortable, and it keeps my watch active the entire time, which was always my
spikes
worry.
come out for personal protection?
I can't tell you.
Oh, okay.
Legally, she cannot tell you that.
Confirm nor deny.
Before we move on to the next topic, I do want to tell you folks about a fun new sponsor here on iMore. If you haven't heard about Roan, you are really missing out, because Roan is a performance, lifestyle, and premium activewear brand that is engineered for unparalleled quality and comfort. They're an absolute necessity for folks on the go. It doesn't matter if you're training in the gym or jumping on international flights. You sound like a cool person, by the way. They are your new go-to clothing brand. And I just checked out their commuter pants, and I'm super, super happy about them. So Roan was kind enough to give us a little taste of what they have to offer. And I was on there, and I was kind of looking between, okay, I know I definitely want to get some pants, but I'm not sure sort of which ones I want to get. And so there was the commuter slim pant and the commuter pant, and they come in these nice gray colors. And so I tend to be kind of I really like slim pants, and I knew that if I got the ones that weren't slim, then I was probably going to send them back. So I got the slim ones. They came in no time at all. I tried them on. They're incredibly comfortable. They're incredibly breathable. I want to go on international flights and want to be working in the gym and wanting to do all these things just so I can be like, yeah, check out these cool pants I have. They're like I said, comfortable. They're high quality. They seem to be pretty durable. My dogs were able to sort of, oh, let me up, Dad. And the pants held up just fine. Rhone has actually just released its amazing new commuter collection. So this is part of that collection that I was talking about. It's perfect for looking great and staying comfortable at the office. So you kind of, it's performance, but it also looks very nice at the same time. It's good for all weather, anytime from a weekday in the workplace to a weekend barbecue or anything in between. They're wrinkle-free, they're lightweight, and there's polos, pants, shorts, and shirts, all sorts of stuff. So you are going to go to rhone.com/iMore today and use the promo code iMore, and that's going to get you 20% off your first purchase. That's RHONE.com/iMore with the promo code iMore for 20% off. Rhone.com/iMore with the promo code iMore. Thanks so much, Rhone, for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. All right, let's talk about the 6K Apple display that we are supposed to be getting. Not today. Sorry, I just needed to rhyme that. That was important to me.
That's pretty good.
Important.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You think we'll get it? So like 2 years ago, Apple brought together a small group of reporters, not me, and had a little meeting.
No one's bitter.
Where they admitted, no, I mean, they had Panzerino and Gruber there, and you're going to go in that direction. That's fine. And they talked about how the old Mac Pro made the wrong bet. It had double GPUs in a world that was going towards massive single GPUs, and they had just basically engineered themselves into a thermal corner. So they were trashing the trash can, and they were going to make an all-new, all-modular Mac Pro with a Pro display. But it wouldn't be that year. It turns out it wouldn't be the year after. So now we think it might be this year. And one of the main reasons I think we'll see it at WWDC is that when Apple is only going to show software, usually at some point someone writes, and Apple is only going to show software this year. It's like they're having a conversation, like maybe the new MacBook Pros. I chatted about this with Gruber on the talk show whenever that's going to go up. But they'll say, yeah, we're putting out the new Mac Pro because we really want to focus on software for WWDC, the new MacBook Pro. And then everyone was like, oh, yeah, of course. So there's not going to be anything at No, we haven't heard anything of that. So I'm holding out to hope that at some point Phil Schiller or John Turnus, who is vice president of hardware, is going to get up on that stage and say, it's not ready yet. It's not shipping until later this year. By that, yes, we mean December 31st at roughly 11:57 p.m. But we want to give you a sneak preview of the all-new, all-modular Mac Pro and Pro display. And then one of three things will happen. It'll either be an updated cheese grater, and it'll be uninspiring but welcomed by all the pros. It'll be some magnificent Lego block wonder that no pro actually wants to use. They throw it out of Windows and will be stuck in hell for 3 more years. Or it'll be some really, really clever, novel new take on the workstation that pros are just giddy about, except for one super annoying fact. And I think it's definitely going to be one of those three things.
One of those three things. Got it. Okay.
Yes. That's the way it is. It's like either like Apple puts out something that everyone thinks is truly amazing, truly useful, or it's like the new Mac Pros where some people like it, other people hate its breathing guts. Or it's like the other Mac Pro where it's like, this is gorgeous, but I can't use it. Why? Why did you do this to us?
So we're either going to love it, hate it, not be sure, or not get it at all.
We're going to love it, hate it, or just be fine with it.
Or we're not going to get it.
Well, I mean, we're not going to get it anyway because none of us need a Mac Pro.
Well, I mean, it's not going to come out.
Now, speak for yourself.
I think it has to. Do you, Mike? So, like, I'm wondering, in the age of the iMac, like 8-core iMacs.
Yeah.
Do we need Mac Pros?
Who needs it? Who does?
Alex Lindsay.
Okay.
Probably MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee.
Okay.
Does he need it, or does he want it?
Yeah, let's be clear.
Or is it just a status?
So he has stopped traveling with a MacBook Pro so that he can carry his iMac Pro to events so that he can render videos faster.
What?
Because he's crunching 8K red raw files. And that's like overnight with a MacBook Pro, but a couple of hours with an iMac Pro. So if he could get that down to like an hour, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so maybe he does need it. You're right.
And I think Guy English
Fine,
needs to
maybe he
play
needs
both
it.
Arkham Asylum and Tomb Raider at the same time. And then it's helpful to have.
You have to have a lot of dexterity.
I guess, or just not care about the lives of your characters.
So I almost think Mac Pro is the given, that we won't get it in June, but that we will see it at WWDC on Monday, sometime between the hours of 10 a.m. and noon Eastern time. Oh, sorry, Pacific time. It's the display that I'm most interested in, whether or not they're actually going to show off. Same thing. It won't be available right away. It will probably come out with the Mac Pro. Will it be its own separate monitor, or will it only come with the Mac Pro? Will I be able to get one and like set it up with my
I think
MacBook
it
Pro?
has to, because so there is a potential where the Mac Pro has PCI 4, which was just announced, and it requires PCI 4 for the bandwidth to drive this 6K by 3K massive monitor, and that's the only device that can physically drive it. But I think the odds of that are pretty small, given how much bandwidth Thunderbolt, and certainly maybe dual Thunderbolt, if they do that, Thunderbolt 3 can already do. But I think a lot of people will be really upset, though, because whenever anything new comes out, everybody wants it. It doesn't matter if it's really needed or not. It's all about, I want that shiny thing and I can't get it, and how dare you?
Yeah. Yeah, like that's, I think, so here's the thing. LG has been regularly pumping out monitors that have Thunderbolt capability. And I know when it comes to design aesthetic, there's a lot of reasons to want an Apple designed monitor more than an LG monitor, but they're making really great monitors. And I'm almost questioning whether or not Apple is just going to say, we don't need to make our own monitor. Let's let these other companies do it. They have been working with LG on creating monitors that have, the capabilities that make it very easy to just plug in and go when it comes to using a Mac. We used to have some issues with Macs and third-party monitors, just like software connections and things like that, but not anymore. It's much easier now, especially through LG. So, with that in mind, is this something you think Apple really is going to kind of put that money investing in? And
I think there's like two reasons to do it. One is the horn effect, and that is like the display is the computer, the same way the interface is the app. And like George and I are staring right now at an iMac logo, and you kind of know that it's Apple. And some stores will deliberately buy iMacs because they want the Apple aesthetic in their store. And if you're buying the LG monitor, if you're buying the Samsung monitor, the Dell monitor, it's like, hey, that Dell PC to put behind is pretty cheap. Do I really want to keep buying Apple computers? Yeah, yes, this thing is hell annoying. No. So it leads people down the wrong path. If an iPhone encourages you to buy more Apple stuff, sticking people with other displays encourages them to keep buying other people's stuff. But more importantly, Apple is really good at integrating their products. So yeah, they work with LG, but if we want a monitor, and the rumors say that we might get a monitor where it'll have like True Tone, and you can control that, night, and you can control that, maybe even a Face ID camera, and it'll all be super well integrated, but also that you'll be able to save preferences as menu items, so you can shift, like I'm doing photography now, or I'm just watching 4K video now and I want a different profile, and then also export and import them between devices. So if you unplug your iMac, plug in your MacBook Pro, you can keep the same settings that you set up for that room. So there's a lot of things that Apple can do when they're controlling the whole widget, the whole soup to nuts implementation.
Right. That's exactly why we like being part of the Apple ecosystem, is that they design things specifically for our other Apple products. And that makes it always a better experience, because other companies like LG, for example, they're not only making for Apple products, they're making for all products and also Apple products. So you're right, like that sort of intimate design aesthetic, or not design look, but the design as in like the user interface and all the features and stuff. That's a benefit for Apple to have something like that. So that being said, how big will the screen be and how much will it be?
So 6K by 3K, which is a lot. It's going to be 31.5 inches according to the rumor, 31.6 inches according to the rumor. So that's one of the biggest displays Apple's ever made. The current one, the iMacs are currently 27 inches, if that gives you an idea, but also the widest. And pricing, so there's a couple of people, because I've been talking about this a lot, who said, well, I hope Apple prices it realistically. And I'm like, no, the Mac Pro is not a realistic device. Even with the trash can Mac Pro, or even with the iMac Pro, it is exactly dollar for dollar, component for component, the same that you would pay for a PC that had the same components. But that still starts at $5,000 because you have Xeon processors, which are enterprise grade, ECC memory, which is redundant protected memory. It is using all the components that you would use in a production studio, like the components that Pixar wants it to have. Not the like, it should be under $500. That's not this. You can make that argument for the Mac Mini, and I'll support you totally. But this is going to be a machine that, like, Industrial Lights and Magic, Lucasfilm, Pixar, all the big Hollywood studios are going to be buying, and they're going to demand a certain level of quality and resiliency in those specs. So I'm guessing you'll start at
$7,000.
well, $5,000 for the Mac Pro, and probably over $1,000 for the display.
10,000.
10,000.
1,000 just for the display.
Yeah, 1,000
Yeah.
for the display, because that's what the old displays were, and they're not anywhere nearly what this was.
I would actually probably go somewhere closer to 1,500 to 2,000 for the
Maybe.
display, depending on what features they really are going to put in there. Like, excuse me, the potential for like the dual Thunderbolt 3 means that you can, daisy chain multiple displays, and that's a really big bonus. So, just based on what current monitors are going for that have even close to the specs that we're looking at, it's always over $1,000. So I'd be surprised if it's less than. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to have a little Apple logo on it, so that's fine. It
So
won't
we're
glow.
good.
I'm sorry, Georgia.
Yeah, I know, exactly. If it was 10K and it glowed,
Yeah,
I could get all of it
fastest 10K
together.
Georgia would ever spend.
I
You'd
would.
be down.
I probably would.
So Georgia, you just get 2 of them. So then you have 2 6K that equals 12, and then you put some light strips behind it, and then it's glowing.
I like anything that glows, so I'm
Yeah.
with you.
If it
I
was a
do
rose
too.
Or
gold display.
you get the 2 displays, you use the one and you take the other one and turn it around, and you just have the wallpaper of a silver background with a glowing Apple logo. And you don't need to use that second.
You know what? I'm gonna make my own. I'm gonna make my own glowing
your
Apple
own.
logo, and I'm just
God,
gonna
if you
stick
get
it
in trouble,
behind
I'm
me.
running for cover.
Oh, are you kidding? There's a.
It'll be like Tony
think
Stark
I'm-
making the first Iron
I think
Man.
I'm gonna do it. Why not? I'm gonna make a total. That's what
I
I'm
want
gonna
to
do.
see that. Yeah, you should.
I could do that.
And then you
could do
can
that.
pin it on your back when you're walking around, and you're like, "I'm an Apple product.
That's adorable.
I'm an Apple. He's a PC."
Oh my god,
That's adorable.
that's something.
That is something. Look, I make bad jokes sometimes. Give me a break.
That's the hardware.
Oh, it won't be hard.
What?
Super easy. Hardly an inconvenience.
Oh, Renee.
Oh,
What kind of software? What else are we going to be looking at?
iOS 13, Mac OS 10.15, and watchOS
Possibly
6.
Mac OS, possibly Mammoth.
Mammoth. Yeah, that's one of the rumors. I'm
Mammoth?
not that. So
Mammoth?
I think it's
Mammoth is
time. I
cute.
think it's time to ditch the marketing names, ditch the prefix, and just call it Mac OS 15. iOS 13, watchOS 6, Mac OS 15. It's not like
But one's
it's not
more
like iOS
friendly.
13 Squirrel. I mean, no, but then do it all for all of them.
Squirrel.
Like, do it for all of them, or do it like just be consistent.
But one's more
Renee-
cute. One's
Renee's
more
upset
cute.
because he doesn't like to have to deal with the naming changes when we're writing about it, because it really is annoying when we're trying to write about these things. We have to
Google
deal with the
has
different
desserts
names.
and they're delicious, but they unveil it. But like Apple doesn't do it for iOS, so why keep
But
doing it for
people
Mac
remember
OS?
the name more easily than the
Then
number.
do it for iOS.
Oh, that's a good point because more people
Hmm.
have iOS. Yeah.
Like call it like iOS Scooby Doo or whatever. Like just like if you're gonna have the Mac, have
But then would it have to be like Scooby Doo .1 and Scooby Doo
But
.2
that's what
when
they've
the
been doing for
different?
Mac. Like it wasn't Mojave 8.3,
Hmm.
iOS 13 hamburger.
So, I mean, we can go into the marketing reasons behind naming schemes, and let me just throw this one out there, Renee, and maybe you'll get some. Maybe it'll make you think a little. When we're talking about software on our computers, we will say things like in Mojave XYZ and High Sierra WWX. When we talk about our software on our phones, and I mean not you and I mean just general people
Humans.
humans.
Normal people.
They say iPhone software, iPad software. They don't even say the name of it. They don't say iOS. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
And they won't say
for-
the number.
yeah, it's just like the software on my phone, you know.
Mhm.
If
And
they even
so
say
I'm thinking that
software.
Yeah.
it's easier to market a software name to a
Mhm.
computer than it is to market a software name to a phone or a tablet, because that might just get a little bit confusing for the average everyday user. So
But Google gets Pi. People running Android right now are getting Pi, Lori. Where's my Pi?
Where
No.
is my pie? I love pie.
Mammoth
Why
is
don't I have
cool.
pie?
Yeah, but
Mammoths
isn't
are
Pi
cool.
good?
Pie is cool. Mammoths
Mammoths
are
are
cool.
cool.
You could have
The
mammoth
mammoths
pie.
eat
Yeah,
Ew.
mammoth pie.
That's why we don't have mammoths.
Yeah, because everyone made
That's
Pi.
Because you
true.
made them into pie.
That's true.
so I
It was
don't
Arya
maybe
Stark that made him into Pi.
I've heard this comment before. There's a mountain in California called Mammoth. So
Yes.
for anybody who thinks that it's the now
Woolly? The woolly?
Yes.
The
woolly.
I
only
believe
font.
I believe that Apple is not moving toward animals again. They're using that same mountain range.
Well, the
scheme.
mountain might have mammoths in it.
Yeah.
At some point in history, yes.
According to YouTube, the Mariana Trench has megalodon, so that makes total sense.
According to YouTube. Oh golly, that's some lovely sourcing you've done there, Renee.
It is easier. It is easier to talk to people also about what are you running when you have a name to it that can stick.
Yes, especially when it's easy to pronounce, like Yosemite.
I'm just
What
gonna
are you
leave
running,
that.
Yosemite?
No, nay.
What is
No,
Yosemite?
that's not
What is
okay.
it? What's your name?
It's
Rain?
not right.
Yeah.
Rain Richie?
You're running Sierra? No, my Sierra is high. Somehow my
Gorga.
Sierra got high.
Gorga Dow, Rain Richie.
I
Lauren,
mean,
you're
they
easy
didn't
to
pick the
do.
cleanest name. Like, you have to have passing familiarity with California geography if you're going to have a hope in Hades of getting any of these right.
What about macOS
Mavericks.
Hades?
Yeah, macOS. Well, we were talking about Death Valley because Death
Ooh.
Valley is in Mojave.
Mhm.
Death Valley.
I don't think they would
iOS.
want to name anything after Death Valley, though. It just doesn't have a
It's
pleasant
our
Greg
sounding
and
name.
driest release ever.
Joshua Tree. Lori and I were talking about Joshua
Not
Tree.
at
a while
all
ago.
waterproof.
And then we could get more free U2 albums. That'd be tight.
Oh no, that would not be tight.
So Apple should start naming their mobile device software, the iOS software, after plants that are native to California. That's what we
They were
should get.
ski resorts. So originally, like the code names for a long time were ski resorts up until like last year was the first.
That's too
time it
bougie.
deviated.
That's way too bougie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
call
is
it
way too bougie.
call it iOS Poppy.
Cactus.
iOS
puppy.
Cactus. Oh, I'm all about that.
iOS
iOS
Fern.
iOS Poppy, iOS. What else is in? I don't know. What plants are native to
And
California?
the WatchOS were all beaches. They were famous. They were well-known beaches like Daytona.
Oh, beaches would be nice. That's actually kind of a fun idea.
It seems like everyone that's designing this, they just want to travel and do fun things. I think that it's
Only
there's
in
a little bit of
California,
an
though.
unconscious. Yeah, well, yeah, they want it to be
You
warm.
could do pasta,
iOS Shadbush, iOS
Oh gosh.
iOS Foxtail. That's
You
kinda
know,
cool.
Micah, I'm just gonna. Foxtail's cool. The other one, I'm just saying there might be a reason that they will not be hiring you to name the names
famous Nintendo characters.
because that's bad.
iOS
You
Coyote
cannot
Brush.
name it after Nintendo characters. That would get them in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
iOS
I mean,
and
They have
Bonita.
enough. They have enough legal issues.
what about
I've
Disney
got it.
characters?
iOS Sugar Bush.
Oh,
Sugar Bush.
That's not okay. That's not okay.
can you picture Tim Cook saying that
It's
on
really
stage?
bad.
No, you cannot.
He would
Good
sound
morning.
horrible saying it though.
Good
Say
morning,
it.
you beautiful sugar bushes. Good morning.
I'm
Do you
pretty
all
sure that
love
you
this?
can't
I'm
use
not gonna do
Bush
it.
in any kind of naming.
You can't.
scheme.
You can't. No, let's just say it. They called it an iPad.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
So,
Wasn't there a whole Head for Bush Beer, Head for the Mountains campaign for
There
years and
was.
years and years?
but I think
iOS
that was a
Yucca.
little bit of a double
Sorry?
entendre. I think that they liked that.
Yeah.
All right.
There
this
are some
show's gonna
good
get a
ones
rating
here.
soon.
They're in there.
I know.
somewhere.
Do we have to
Uh,
put not safe for work on this one?
No, we haven't said anything bad. Oh, I just found one. I'm not going to say it, but I am going to share it with you all.
wanna
It's
see
that bad,
And
huh?
it's
Where
one
is it? I gotta
we-
see it.
Hold on.
iOS Grand Tetons?
No, Renee, not okay.
What about freeways? iOS.
Yeah, you can't say that. You can't say that, Micah. You can't.
Who knew?
You
Who knew?
can't.
Anyway,
Yeah.
folks, I am hitting pause on this podcast here to tell you all about our other pals at Wix. We've talked about Wix before. That's because Wix makes it super simple to set up a website. There are lots of S's there because it's super sweet. Wix is used by over 140 million people. You can start and publish a website for free. They've got more than 500 templates, or if you want to, you can start from scratch. They make it easy to change, customize anything you want to. They've got buttons, lists, forms, social bars, clip art, strips, galleries, video backgrounds, add your own text, your own images. I mean, the list goes on. And you know what? If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? If someone builds a website and no search engine can find it, is it out there? I don't know, because with Wix, you can use their built-in SEO tools to help you get found by search engines like Google and Bing. Now, I've talked about one of my favorite features of Wix, which is the ADI. That's Artificial Design Intelligence. If you head over to imorepodcast.com, you can see the site that I built in hardly any time at all to create this website, because I just answered a few questions. I uploaded the logo, iMore logo, and it automatically made a color scheme and it put together a site that works for us. It's super fast and super easy. But if you'd rather go the more deep and, it's controlling route, then you should check out Wix Code. Basically, it means that you don't have to rely on templates or artificial design intelligentsia. I don't know. You can code your own website all from the beginning without limits. You can make advanced web applications. It's all serverless and hassle-free coding. That is Wix. Wix.com/podcast is going to get you 10% off. You head to Wix, Wix.com/podcast to get 10% off. Thanks so much to Wix for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. And now, let's talk about Ample being anti-competitive, Apple being anti-competitive or competitive, or the Supreme Court saying, we can go forth with an anti-competitive claim. What's going on here? Someone tell me.
This might be controversial, but I think it's probably one of the best decisions Apple could have gotten out of the court on this. They didn't rule at all on the merits. They didn't say that the lawsuit was fine. They didn't. And that said, I think it was a bad decision on the court's part. So what Apple was contending is that you can't have a lawsuit where it's possible for the same judgment to be given to multiple parties. So the contention was, and it's kind of ludicrous when you hear it, there's a bunch of people suing Apple saying that Apple is artificially keeping the prices of apps too high. And there's all these starving developers who are going to really enjoy hearing that argument. But the gist was that because Apple takes a portion of the revenue, developers have to charge more than they would otherwise. So instead of paying 70 cents, you're paying $1. But besides that, what Apple's argument was is that developers can sue us over this, but the law says that multiple parties can't sue you for the same damage. So you can't let customers and developers sue us over this. You have to make a choice. And Supreme Court, a lot of people will say that they ignored the precedent on this and said, no, totally fine. You can go ahead and sue them on this too, which will have ramifications for any other company that does brokerage in any way. So for example, you'll be able to sue Ticketmaster over the movie that you go to. You'll be able to sue basically anybody that you buy anything from that doesn't make that thing.
A reseller.
Yeah, any reseller, it will now be liable for lawsuits against the core content. And the people who make the content. That's the big difference.
But I
Previously,
think
you had to choose.
It's any reseller that that is the only way that you can get those tickets.
They weren't that clear. They didn't say that.
That is why when they went through the ruling, that is why they let this go by, is that if you want to buy something legally for an Apple product, you have to go through Apple's ecosystem.
So then you're considered de facto Apple content. Yeah, no, totally fair enough. So that to me is like the silly dog in the room. The more compelling one is the argument that as Apple has grown, as we're dealing with things 10 years later now, some of the early practices and principles are no longer tenable. When Apple was basically inventing the concept of the App Store, and they really wanted to maintain their Disney-like image, and have no adult apps, no pornography, nothing shady, all that kind of stuff, everything was very tightly ruled. And then they added in-app purchases, but free apps had to stay free because they didn't want any confusion. And then they dropped that rule, and then any app could charge for in-app purchases. But the problem comes up where you have two resellers. So Apple is basically a reseller. They package up everyone's apps and they sell them. But there are also apps that package up things like music or comic books or digital books or audio books, and they resell them too. And Apple's charging 30% on the resale, and they're trying to charge 30% on the resale, and they both can't have that 30%. So they want to be able to charge separately. And Apple already does not charge anything on physical goods. Like if you shop from Amazon or Walmart on the iPhone, Apple gets none of that. But they do ask for a percentage of digital goods, which creates tension because you literally can't afford to give them that percentage. But Apple also doesn't let you link out to the web. You have to, like, people have to go find the web on their own. They treat them as reader apps. So this gets real complicated real fast. And a lot of people have spoken out. Spotify has complained about it. And some other, Netflix no longer lets you subscribe from within Netflix, especially the apps that are, Fortnite is still doing it, but they've pulled out of the Android store, for example, because they don't want to pay Google. They don't want Google taking 30% of their purchases. So the big companies, the wealthy companies, the new powerful companies are pushing back on the value that Apple or Google provides for their in-app purchases. So I see a lot of problems here, but I've tried to think my way through the solutions, and none of them are great, or at least I haven't come across a solution that's really great yet either, because there is some value in being in the App Store. People will discover you through the App Store app. People will have confidence that the apps have been reviewed. There's a responsibility chain, so there's no malware in it, or there's no sort of apps you wouldn't want your kids to download. So there is marketing and transaction value there, but is it still worth 30%? Maybe it was 10 years ago. Maybe now it's only worth 10%. So I think there's a huge discussion that has to go on there. But there's a lot of ramifications for everybody. So for example, if Netflix won't let me buy through the App Store, but I only want to buy through the App Store because I just want all my stuff in one place, and I trust Apple. I don't trust giving my credit card to Netflix or 800 other Netflixes, or EA decides all their in-app purchases should be through EA now, and I have to have an EA account. I don't trust EA at all, but I want to play Fortnite or whatever. Do I have to get that account? Yeah, The Sims, all those sorts of things. It becomes like they're saying it's more choice. What they mean is it's more choice for them. I will get whatever they choose to give me at the end of the day. It doesn't really help me at all. But all of this to say that I think it's an incredibly complicated issue that is fundamentally broken, but I don't have any easy fixes for them yet.
And I suppose it's not on you to come up with what
I like to think of these things though. And I also think that's probably why Apple hasn't solved it, because if it was easy, they would have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the things that's really interesting is that I've sort of just gone through life just knowing that the Apple App Store exists, and that's where I get my apps for my iPhone, and that's the end of it. I don't think past it very much. And then when, issues like these come up, then I do start thinking about, is this still the right path to do it, or does Apple need to make some changes? Is Apple just being a little bit stubborn and don't want to make changes? There's this one section. So in response to being accused of being monopolistic, Apple posted a page dedicated to their principles and practices.
Yep.
And they kind of break down for us what they do, why they do it, how many apps are reviewed and processed, and how they take money. And there's this one section toward the bottom that it says, for the free apps, we don't take any money. For the free apps with advertising, we don't take any money. For the free apps with, so it kind of goes through and tells you every single type of app that's in the App Store, how much money they take, when they take it, and, basically what the contract looks like. So they're being very transparent here to see what we see. And really, first of all, apps are not expensive in the App Store. They are way too cheap. They should be more expensive. Services is where we're starting to see the problem. And this is where I get into my sort of cloudy, I don't know how I feel about it thing, which is Apple takes 30% commission for the first year for a subscription, which means every month or every year that you pay in, or every week that you pay into a service, for that first year, Apple takes 30% from the profits of that. And then after that first year, they drop that down to 15%. So the developer gets 85% of the commission on that. But that's still a murky kind of area for for somebody who, you know, has developed this app and they're the ones doing all the work to provide the service and the upkeep and, you know, the cloud service and everything that they're doing. So after that initial, you like you're saying, Renee, the App Store is this store that Apple is saying, you know, if you can rent a space from us for 30% commission. But then once I've taken my app from the store and I've paid my first initial amount, I'm not in the App Store anymore. I'm on my phone now, and Apple is still taking commission, even if it's dropped down to 15%. They're still taking money when I'm not in the App Store anymore. Now I'm just on the phone. And that's where things get a little weird, because on a computer, on a Mac, we can go get our services directly from these companies without having to go through the Mac App Store. So they get 100% commission on those under those circumstances. You literally can't do that on your phone or your iPad without jailbreaking your device. So they are
or getting like a really thin web app that you're not happy with.
I'm talking about the services thing, but yes.
Yeah. But you can go to Netflix on your phone and you can go to YouTube on your phone, but it's not the same as having it in an app.
Yeah. So then if Apple is going to force developers to put their apps in the App Store, they are now also forcing them to pay a commission if people want to have a service that pays monthly, weekly, yearly, whatever that is. That's where things get funny. I don't know. Like I'm thinking the first analogy that comes to mind is I used to work at an independent movie theater, and we had to pay to show the movies. And the first week, the premiere week, it was more expensive. We had to pay them a certain amount of profits the first week, and it went down incrementally. And after, you know, it wasn't a year's thing because movies don't stay in theaters that long. But after it was in our theater for a really long time, we were only paying them about 5% on the commission of those, because the assumption is that eventually they've made their money back on what they're letting us use the movie for. And I think that the App Store is the same. Like the services are the same, that Apple does deserve a certain amount of money because they are providing something to you that's very important. But 10 years from now, does Apple still get 15% of what that person was paying?
Thinking out loud is like, if I want the convenience of managing it through the App Store, like I don't want to have a direct relationship with Netflix and all these other subscription services because I don't want my credit card everywhere. Maybe I can choose, like, it costs me 5%, but I get to keep all my, like, there's these different ideas. Like Steve Troughton-Smith said that he'd be super happy if Apple just let you link out to websites. He doesn't care what happens in the App Store. Just allow me to put a button there saying buy this on the web. And then you go to the web and you buy it directly from them. Yeah. And it's fine. Apple didn't want that originally because they thought every app would use that button and then the App Store would make no more money. But some apps really do want the convenience, like especially games. They just want you to press that button. And if you're jumping out to a web, maybe you won't press that button and give them more money.
And sometimes it's a lot easier for them to just use Apple's, their stuff than to have to set up their own whole process for all of that. And so you can just drop in that code and you've got, the money coming in. And so, it's not worth it to even have to set up the own thing. I'm with that idea, that sort of middle ground where with Audible, I would love to be able to just hit a button and then be flown over to my wish list and be able to order the book, instead of me basically separately having to go to audible.com and then go to the wish list and then request the desktop site and then do all this other stuff. That middle ground seems nice. And yeah, I think a lot of developers are not going to, it's hard to set up your own payment processing thing and to figure that out.
Well, there'll probably be a Shopify, like someone immediately will set up a Shopify for developers.
True. So that is
the other alternative, and I think Anatko mentioned this, was make better support for progressive web apps so that a lot of companies who don't want to be involved in the App Store can just make something that looks, to all intents and purposes, like a native app that runs Netflix or runs Spotify on your device, home screen icon, all of those things using web technologies, and doesn't have to be in the store. And you don't have to have an official jailbreak. That's a security risk. It's just sort of sandboxed into a service provider environment.
Wasn't that the sweet solution?
Well, except the sweet solution's gotten way sweeter now that you have service providers and a bunch of current generation web tech. Like basically it's running Chromebook apps or something. On your iPhone.
Okay. Yeah. With
local storage, persistent memory, all that kind of thing.
What we'll end up finding out is having the ruling on, is the App Store considered a monopoly? And if so, it's going to have a whole bunch of,
Oof.
it's going to have a huge amount of fallout for Apple if they end up being considered and ruled as such. And the second one is who can sue the App Store then. If developers and people, like just regular users, can sue the App Store, they're going to be in for a whole world of hurt, which is why Apple was hoping to set precedent of, one, they're not a monopoly, and two, only developers who are the people that are actually, in Apple's mind, buying into the App Store, that they're the only ones that can sue. But by the Supreme Court ruling that this case can go forth, they are pretty much setting the precedent that, yes, those two arguments are not to their standards, and that this case can go forwards, so that people are now suing right now for that case, and we'll see how that goes down. And that, Apple kind of gets fallen into that monopolistic kind of territory. And so it's going to be a really interesting case, which will probably have fallout effects for other large monopolistic kind of companies, which is why Google kind of separated in hopes that they would not be found as a monopoly themselves.
Yeah, this is
interesting because the America considers monopoly based on lowest possible price for customers, and the EU tends to see it based on the amount of competition in the market, which are
And
two
control.
very different approaches. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like in Europe, it's all about the experience for the consumer, and in the US, it's all about
Consumer choice.
the business.
Yeah, the US is consumer price.
Yeah.
But you also have to see the difference between, if companies are seen as individuals, all of the laws then change because of that. Whereas in the EU, that is different, looked at differently. So Citizens United changed a whole bunch of precedent, and then lobbyists changed a whole bunch of precedent when Facebook goes to court, and they have paid a whole bunch of the people that are overseeing them hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then they rule in their favor. You have to kind of question where these cases are coming about.
All right, folks, it is time to move along. Well, I want to do a quick shout out here for Lori's article. If you are going to be at WWDC, oh, we're rhyming again, then there are lots of events that take place in and around that conference. And so Lori has put together a little piece that talks about the best alternatives for WWDC during the day, places where you can hang out daily, live podcasts and events that are going on, and also parties that you can attend. So you can check out these different, fun events to just hang out and see folks, to go and watch people podcast live. Those end up being quite a bit of fun, actually. And then, daily hangouts in different areas where you can just sort of go and chat with folks, and those other alternatives like Layers and AltConf. So we will include a link to that in the show notes for you to check that out if you are going to WWDC. And if you're not, then, Twitter's the best place to hang out probably, or Instagram, where you can follow along to find some folks to follow who are there on the ground. I believe, Renee, you have a video, out about people to follow for WWDC.
Yeah, Lori and a bunch of other good people to follow. 50
Yeah, and I just added a bunch of people to my Twitter following just from watching this morning. He'd name the name, and I'd be typing in their name on Twitter. Follow, name the. There was one. I accidentally grabbed the wrong person. That I was going so fast that I just hit follow on the name, and then I was looking. I was like, oh, that's not the right person.
Yeah, I think I typoed. I put Ticci instead of Vitici too, so I have to go back and fix some things.
It's a pretty popular name, though. I think most people will know what you're talking about.
Hopefully. All right.
And there is Clockwise in there, Micah.
Oh, yes. Check out Clockwise. I will not be hosting the WWDC episode, and that is because we're doing a special one with everybody who's actually there. So you're going to hear host emeritus Jason Snell and some other cool guests live from the event. So I get to relax a little bit on that Wednesday. And
then send notes saying, I wish you had pronounced this.
Yeah. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you mention dogs once during this whole episode? Let's go ahead and move on to talk about Pokemon Sleep And Pokemon Home, I think, was the other one. Pokemon Home is not a huge deal. It is a web service. It's it exists in the cloud, and it's a way for folks who have Pokemon games on different games and services on different platforms to basically track and kind of take care of their Pokemon and trade Pokemon separate from those different services. So
is it Dropbox for Pokemon?
It's Dropbox for Pokemon. And there's also like a Nurse Joy hanging out in the Dropbox. So you can, depending on where you've collected them and how, you're using them or whatever, then this basically allows you to see all of them and know which ones you have and be able to trade with other folks. But Pokemon Sleep, this is it's a sleep tracker. It's encouraging you to sleep better. What's going on here?
Renee's
already. He's winning. He's winning.
Getting my Snorlax
throw a
on.
Pokeball.
I'm getting my Snorlax.
Yeah, I'll throw a Pokeball at him. That's how you wake up in the morning.
So it's the Pokemon. The Pokemon Company did this crazy press conference just a couple of nights ago, where they just like threw out all these new Pokemon related things that are coming out. So it was kind of an intense evening, but it's like a fitness app that you use in conjunction with, and I am not kidding. There is a sleep tracker that's called Pokemon Go Plus Plus.
Oh,
we need more pluses. They only stopped at 2 pluses. Why couldn't we get 7 pluses?
I feel like they could have renamed that something a little bit more clever.
I don't know why they wouldn't have called it Pokemon Sleep.
Because it also does the walking. It does the walking and the sleeping.
Oh, that's the second plus.
Well, the first plus was walking.
It does the walking and the sleeping. It does it all.
Yeah.
It should have been Pokemon Sleep Plus.
Pokemon Stop and Go.
I like that.
Pokemon Rest Stop. No, I don't like that.
Pokemon Snore.
But
so
it tracks sleep and movement. Okay.
Yeah. So, you can
a brilliant
get
way for Niantic to get more information from you.
We did add, so you're supposed to put it next to your pillow or something at night to track your sleep.
So it hypnotizes you.
Ask if there was motion, whether you would get extra egg hatching, but they blacklisted us at that point. And they wouldn't let us talk to them anymore.
That's a joke though, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I know nothing about this product yet.
Okay. I was like, wow, they're really
so much is unknown.
That's
hilarious. It's just a way for you to get in, like, there are some serious, Renee, you're a pretty dedicated Pokemon player. What if you could hatch eggs by having a good night's sleep? Would you not do that?
How would they know that you're not cheating?
I figure you got to be jogging if you're going to hatch eggs. Like, I think that's like regardless of whether you're jogging or not, you've got to be jogging. So you're going to get like sleep. They're going to have some new game mechanic that involves sleep, and I'm always baffled by this stuff until I see it, and then I'm like, oh, okay.
So it's going to go by like a 45-minute like circadian clock kind of thing, where you have to move every 45 minutes.
Look, they told us it's called sleep, George. Back up off their backs.
That's all we know. Okay.
My guess is you're going to get some kind of achievements or awards for getting a full night of sleep, whatever your full night of sleep looks like.
There'll be there'll be a sleep egg that only hatches while you're sleeping.
That would be cool.
You see, Niantic went,
yes,
what?
Jigglypuff, you can only get it by sleeping.
That we have 8 hours that we are not tracking anything.
Yes.
We need more. We need to have this be 24.
There's going to be a game called Pokemon Sleep that goes with this.
Really?
Yeah. The perfect game for you, finally.
Did you get your sleeping Snorlax already, Renee?
Yes.
How long did it take you to get your Snorlax? But it's only
sleeping. I put on incense and I got it right away. But it's only sleeping when it's on the catch screen. The minute you catch it, it wakes up again. Which
then it's just a normal Snorlax after that, right?
Except it has yawn as a useless move. So everything's great.
But very innocent to sleep?
Yeah, maybe.
I get it that Snorlax is the sleeping Pokemon, but I don't understand why Jigglypuff is not getting any attention here, because Jigglypuff is the one that puts you to sleep. And so I'm a little annoyed.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
This is upsetting to me. Being the Jigglypuff is my favorite Pokemon.
There you go. You can see your sleeping Snorlax.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were about to show me a Jigglypuff.
No, he does look dead.
Yeah,
how do you know that he's dead? His soul is leaving. I'm gonna just put it back up.
You killed him.
There's a soul leaving his body. The soul.
The art for this was like one person standing with all these sleeping and looked like a mass murderer. It looked like somebody had just killed all the Snorlax.
Oh man, if you
Yeah.
positioned it right, you could have like a red sheet that's laying just in the right position so it looks like Snorlax is all bloody.
Oh, I like how you think, Lori.
Did I go too far? Is that too much?
Just a little
I
bit.
that entertained me. It entertained
This
me.
episode has been so far off the
I
rails. anyway.
like that it's called Pokemon Go Plus Plus, but that there's an actual word written out plus, and then it
Yes.
has a plus sign after it. Is the best part
Well, it would
about
be
it.
redundant otherwise. Wouldn't it?
It says the Pokemon Go Plus Plus. You can use it as a Pokemon Go Plus during the day, put it next to your pillow at night to track your time sleeping. And then it's like, and it sends sleep information to your smartphone via Bluetooth. And it's like, yeah, because you want that data. That was the
You want
first
that
thing.
then
data.
next year-
Exactly.
Next year, we
exactly.
get Pokemon Plus 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 that involves eating. We'll see how that
Oh
goes.
no.
I was about to make a bathroom joke, but I think I'm going to step off right now.
Yeah, this is a good time to say, folks, I think we've reached the end of another episode of the iMore show. You can check out Pokemon Sleep Plus Tracker Plus. You can check out Pokemon Home. And you can stay posted because WWDC is, I know I said it before, right around the corner. It is literally right around the corner now. So you can follow along to see what's happening there. And of course, check out imore.com where we will be writing up stuff as it happens, shaking and moving and dancing and not sleeping. So it's a good thing Pokemon Sleep's not out yet. So thank you all for listening. I want to thank Jim Metzendorf so much for editing the show and making us sound great every week. Renee, I saw you flossing. That was awesome. We will, of course, be back next week with more. It might be a boots on the ground episode there with some live folks reporting in. Georgia Dow, you are gone, but you're here now. If people are looking to get in touch with you, maybe they can do that on Twitter.
You maybe it's Georgia_Dow. I'm on there every few weeks. And if not, if you're dealing with anxiety, depression, want to increase your emotional intelligence, you can check out anxiety-videos.com.
Awesome. Everybody should want to increase their emotional intelligence. So you should definitely
I'm
check
increasing
out.
mine
Thing.
right now.
Renee, you've got work to do, Georgia says.
Yeah, so much work.
I saw that look she gave you. Renee, if people are looking to get in touch with you or want to watch your videos, how can they do all of that?
I'm at Renee Ritchie on the social things, imore.com/vector for my articles, and youtube.com/vector show for the videos,
The vidges.
Videos.
the vidges.
Lori
Go-
Gill.
Go to
Where-
vector.com/YouTube, whatever you just said today, and watch that video.
Yes.
Watch that video about WWDC, who to follow at WWDC. It's really good.
Oh, thank you.
And
And then my social things, Appaholic. So follow me on Twitter at Appaholic, APPAHOLIK. That's where you're going to find out all my selfies and all of my pictures of Renee falling asleep in the middle of the day is on the Twitters.
Snorlaxing. It's a new trend, and we're gonna call it Snorlaxing. #Snorlaxing. So take a photo of yourself snoozing in a place where you should be awake and post it on Instagram or Twitter.
Dangerous. It's
And
dangerous.
please don't do that while
Nothing but a small
driving.
max, baby.
None of that. No funny haha dangerous things. But in the
Some
middle of a
low-down
conference,
Pokemon
it's
getting
funny.
crazy.
It's Snorlaxing, and we will see that. If you're looking to get in touch with me or want to follow along with what my dogs are up to, Snorlaxing all the time, you can head to Twitter or all the social things. That's at Micah Sargent, or you can go to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee for links to the different stuff that I do. I hope you have, depending on when you're listening to this, a great week or weekend. This has been the iMore Show. Signing off.
Bum, bum, ba, bum, bam.
Do-do-do-do.